Hi everyone, my name is Vanessa van Dijk, and in today's video I want to talk about the problem that can happen when you try to eat healthier, but actually end up making things worse without realizing it. Because when you decide to reduce something in your diet, for example meat, dairy or wheat, which are often the first things you are told to avoid, what often happens is not that you actually remove it, but that you replace it. And that's the part that often gets overlooked. And from my experience, that's where things can start to go wrong. Because instead of eating something in its more natural form, you often end up choosing products that are designed to replace it. So for example, if you want to eat less meat, you start looking for alternatives. And that's usually where you end up buying things like plant-based or vegan meat products. And on the surface, it feels like a better choice. But when you actually look at what those products are made of, you realize that they are often highly processed with long ingredients lists. And that's a very different situation compared to eating something in its more natural form, like a piece of meat with just one ingredient. And the same pattern applies to other things. When you try to avoid wheat, especially with how much anti-wheat content is out there, you might switch to alternatives. But often you end up with more processed versions. So instead of wheat, you might use things like rice flour or nut flours, which often require a lot of additional ingredients to turn them into something similar. And when you reduce dairy, you replace it with plant-based versions, which often leads to the same issue of being more processed. But the problem is that it feels like you are making a healthier decision, while in reality, what often happens is that you are actually increasing the amount of processed food in your diet. And that's where the actual issue is, because now your body is not just dealing with the original food, but with a combination of ingredients that are added to make something look and taste similar. And that can affect how you feel in different ways through digestion, energy levels, or also show up on your skin as breakouts, rashes, or general irritation. And what makes this so confusing is that you are actively trying to do something good for your health, based on what you may have been reading or watching online. So it becomes very difficult to question it. At least that was my experience. Because I've been there myself. And what I didn't realize at the time is that when you want to reduce something, it's not always about finding a replacement. It's about actually leaving it out. Because when you keep trying to replace something with a version that mimics it, you often end up with something that is ultra-processed compared to what you started with, which was actually whole food. So instead of improving your diet, you might actually be moving in the opposite direction. And since those products are often presented as healthier options, even though that doesn't necessarily reflect how your body actually responds to them, especially when you eat them regularly, it can take a while to see that connection. And that's something I had to learn the hard way by going through those changes myself. So I think this is just something to keep in mind, that when you're changing your diet, it's not always about replacing things, but often about simplifying them instead. Because that's usually where you start to reduce the amount of processed food again and move closer to something your body can handle more easily. And that's really where the difference begins, not just for your skin, but for your overall health too. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!